And now, Andrew Does Everything proudly presents Cinderella, based on the story of Cinderella. Once upon a time, there lived a young girl named Cinderella. Cinderella had 5 ugly, mean stepsisters named Tasha, Hannah, Rena, and the twins Ellie and Emmy. Tasha, Hannah, Rena, Ellie, and Esme made Cinderella do all the chores. Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all, said Tasha, Hannah, Rena, Ellie, and Emmy all together. One day, the king of Tripleville's messenger said, Hear ye, the king of Tripleville is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son, Prince Stripling. But Cinderella is not welcome. Her stepsisters are... Tasha said, He's going to marry me. Hannah said, No way, Tasha. He's going to marry me. Rena said, Both of you are wrong. He's going to marry me. Ellie said, All 3 of you are wrong. He's going to marry me. Emmy said, Are you kidding, sister? He's going to marry me. Later, Cinderella is so sad because she cannot go to the ball. Suddenly, Cinderella's fairy godmother asks what's wrong. Why are you crying, Cinderella? She asks. Cinderella responds, I can't go to the ball and marry Prince Stripling. The fairy godmother said, I can help with a bit of magic. She waved her magic wand and chanted the magic word. Triply, trappily, triply, true. And then Cinderella's chores are all done, but the fairy godmother said she's not done. He then said, Cinderella, go fetch me a good old pumpkin. Luckily, Cinderella has 3 pumpkins. The fairy godmother waved her magic wand and chanted the magic word, Triply, trappily, troppily, true. And then the 3 pumpkins turned into a handsome coach drawn by 6 strong horses. And then Cinderella's do-rag and red dress turned into a gown and crown. Cinderella said, I've never seen such a triple-tastic crown and gown. And get a load of my glass slippers. The fairy godmother said, Have fun, Cinderella, but I would warn you. Return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken. Cinderella accepted the warning. Meanwhile, at the ball, Prince Stripling was wondering who he should marry. Tasha, Hannah, Rena, Ellie, and Emmy say all together, He's walking towards me! But he's not walking towards any of them. But he's walking towards Cinderella. Cinderella and Prince Stripling dance together. But later, Cinderella realized it's almost midnight, so she scurried out of the ball. And she's running so fast that she lost one of her glass slippers. Prince Stripling was so worried. He afraid that he might never see Cinderella again. So he traveled around Tripleville to find her and brought the tiny glass slipper with him. He knocked on the door of the house where Cinderella and her ugly, mean stepsisters lived. Ladies, I have a favor to ask. Can you try on this glass slipper? Tasha first. Hannah second. Rena third, and the twins last, but none of their feet fit. Suddenly, Prince Stripling noticed Cinderella singing. She exclaimed, Prince Stripling, is that you? Prince Stripling said, Of course it's me. Fiorella gets so excited because she's happy to have Prince Tripling back. And he doesn't need to put on the glass slipper back on Fiorella's foot because it's so uncomfortable. And they both live happily ever after. The end. And now, Andrew Knows Everything proudly presents Fiverella, based on the story of Cinderella. Andrew's Doors, I hope you enjoyed it. Once upon a time, there lived a young girl named Fiverella. Fiverella had four ugly, mean stepsisters: Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella. Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella made Fiverella do all the chores. Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all, said Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella. One day, the king of Fiveham's messenger said, Hear ye, the king of Fiveham is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son, Prince Quintuppling. But Fiverella is not welcome. Her stepsisters are. Fiona said, He's going to marry me. Isabel said, No way, Fiona. He's going to marry me. Verona said, Both of you are wrong. He's going to marry me. Ella said, All three of you are wrong. He's going to marry me. Later, Fiverella is so sad that she cannot go to the ball and marry Prince Quintupling. Suddenly, her fairy godmother asks, Why are you crying, Fiverella? Fiverella responds, I got a lot of chores to be done. I can't go to the ball and marry Prince Quintupling. The fairy godmother said, I can help with a bit of magic. Quantity, woo! The fairy godmother's magic did all the chores and then turned Fiverella's do-rag and ribbed dress into a gown and crown. Fiverella said, I've never seen such a quintastic dress. And get a load of my glass slippers. But she's not done yet. The fairy godmother said, Fetch me. Fiverella, go fetch me a good old pumpkin. Luckily, Fiverella has 5 pumpkins. And the fairy godmother turned the 5 pumpkins into a handsome coach. It's drawn by 10 strong horses. The fairy godmother said, Have fun, Fiverella, but I would warn you, return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken. Fiverella accepted the warning. Meanwhile, at the ball, Prince Quintupling said, Who should I marry? Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella said all together, He's walking towards me. Well, he's not walking towards any of them, but Prince Quintupling is walking towards Fiverella. Fiverella and Prince Quintupling danced happily together. But later, Fiverella realized it's almost midnight, so she scurried out of the ball. And when she was running so fast, she lost one of her glass slippers. Prince Quintupling was so worried that she might never see Fiverella again. So he traveled all around Fiveham to find her, bringing the tiny glass slipper with him. He knocked on the door where Fiverella and her 4 ugly mean stepsisters live. Prince Quitone said to her stepsisters, Ladies, I have a favor to ask. Can any of you try on this glass slipper? Fiona is first. But her foot is too small. Isabella is next, but her foot is too big. Verona and Ella are last, but neither of the feet match. Suddenly, Prince Quitone noticed Fiverella's sweet singing. Prince Quitone, is that really you? Of course it's me, Fiverella. Fiverella is so excited because she's happy to have her Prince Quitone back. And they all lived happily ever after. The end. And take care, Andrew's Doers. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Bye. Andrew's Doers. Andrew Knows Everything proudly presents 33rella for the Frieza 1300 episode special. As the title suggests, it is based on the story of Cinderella with a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon a time, there was a young girl named 33rella. 33rella had 11 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters named Tasha, Hilda, Isabella, Ramona, Tanya, Irina, Tilly, Hallie, Ruby, Erin, and Emily. All 11 of them made fun of 33rella and made her do all the chores. 33, wench! Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all, said Tasha to Emily all together. One day, the king of Troubleville's messenger arrives and says, Hear ye, hear ye! The king of Troubleville's royal majesty is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son, Prince Treasure Toppling. Can I come? asked 33rella. But she is not welcome. Her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters are. He's going to marry me, said Tasha, the oldest stepsister. But her younger stepsisters disagree. They even tear 33rella's dress. And her best party dress. Later, 33rella is so sad, distraught, and upset about not going to the ball, marrying Prince Treasure Toppling. Suddenly, her fairy godmother rises and comforts her. 33rella, there now, my dear 33rella, she said. I'll fix everything for you. She then waves her magic wand. Because of that, 33rella's chores are all done. But her fairy godmother is not done yet. She said, 33rella, my dear, go fetch me a pumpkin and some ice. Luckily, 33rella has 33 pumpkins and 66 mice. 33rella, fairy godmother waves her magic wand again to turn the 33 pumpkins into a handsome coach. The 66 mice into horses and fixes 33rella's torn dress and makes it bigger and better. 33rella said, I've never seen such a treasure-tastic gown. and get a load of my glass slippers, fairy godmother. How can I ever thank you enough? And climbed into the coach. Cinderella's fairy godmother said, well, you can't, but have fun, Cinderella, my dear. But I would warn you, return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken, and everything will change back to the way it was before. Anne gave her a clock to tell her what time it is. And so, Cinderella accepted the warning. Meanwhile, at the ball, the king of Troubleville, who is very kind, wise, etc., says, good evening, everyone. My son, Prince Tritupling, was wondering who he should marry. Isn't that right, son? In which Prince Tritupling responds, yes, father. Suddenly, Cinderella arrived at the ball just in time. He's walking towards me, say Tasha, Hilda, Isabella, Ramona, Tanya, Irina, Hallie, Ruby, Aaron, and Emily all together. But Prince Tritupling is not walking towards any of them. He's walking towards Cinderella. Prince Tritupling then says, may I have this dance? In which Cinderella responds, I would be delighted. And so Cinderella and Prince Tritupling dance happily together. But later, Cinderella checks her clock, and it's almost midnight. So she scurried out of the ball, and she was running so fast that she lost one of her glass slippers. Prince Tritupling was really worried that he might never see Cinderella again. The king of Troubleville comforts him by saying, there now, son. I think we'll be able to find Cinderella, my dear daughter-in-law. And so, the king of Troubleville and Prince Tritupling began their journey all around Troubleville to find Cinderella and brought the glass slipper she lost with them. By the time they arrived, they knocked on the door of the house where Cinderella and her 11 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters lived. But instead of Cinderella, they find her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters, Tasha and Emily. Prince Tritupling then said, ladies, my father, the king of Troubleville, and I have a favor to ask. Can any of you try on this glass slipper? Tasha is first, but her foot is too big. Hilda is next, but her foot is too small. Nonsense! It fits! She said. The rest did the same, but none of their feet are the right size. Suddenly, the king of Troubleville and Prince Tritupling noticed Cinderella singing. Your Majesty and Prince Tritupling, is that you guys? She hollered excited. The glass slipper fits! And Cinderella and the king of Troubleville and Prince Tritupling lived happily ever after. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story, Andrews Doers. And I've been debating on making the sequels. So if you want to see maybe someday 33 2, 33 Wishes Come True, something like that. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrews Everything. Buy our merchandise at andrewseverything.com. Take care. Bye. And now, Andrews Doers, Andrew Knows Everything proudly presents for the free 500 episode special 35-erella. It is based on the story of Cinderella with a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon a time, there was a young adult girl named 35-year-old. 35-year-old had 10 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters named Tasha, Hilda, Isabella, Ramona, Tanya, Irina, Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella. All of them made fun of 35-year-old and made her do all the chores. 35er wench, sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all, said the ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters all together. One day, the king of Quintragitellingham's messenger arrives and says, "Hear ye, hear ye! The king of Quintragitellingham, his royal majesty, is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son, Prince Quintragitellingam." "Can I come?" asks 35-year-old, but she's not welcome. Her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters are. "He's going to marry me," said Tasha, the oldest stepsister. But her younger sisters disagree. They even tear 35-year-old's best party dress. Later, 35-year-old is so sad, distraught, and upset about not going to the ball and marrying Prince Quintragitellingham. Suddenly, her fairy godmother arrives and comforts 35-year-old. There now, my dear 35-year-old," she said. "I'll fix everything for you." She then waves her magic wand. Because of that, 35-year-old's chores are all done. But her fairy godmother is not done yet, she said. 35-year-old, go fetch me a pumpkin and some mice. Luckily, 35-year-old has 35 pumpkins and 70 mice. 35-year-old's fairy godmother waves her magic wand again to turn the 35 pumpkins into a handsome coach, the 70 mice into horses, and fixes 35-year-old's torn dress. Makes it bigger and better. 35-year-old said, "I've never seen such a quinquadratic gown. And get a load of my glass slippers. Fairy godmother, how can I ever thank you enough?" And climbed into the coach. 35-year-old's fairy godmother said, "Well, you can't. But have fun, 35-year-old. My dear, but I would warn you, return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken and everything will change back to the way it was before." And gave her a clock to tell her what time it is. And so, 35-year-old accepts the warning. Meanwhile, at the ball, the king of Quintragitellingham says, "Good evening, everyone." Prince Quintragitellingham was wondering who he should marry. "Isn't that right, son?" In which Prince Quintragitellingham says, "Yes, father." Suddenly, 35-year-old arrived at the ball. Just in time. "He's walking towards me," say Tasha, Hilda, Isabella, Ramona, Tanya, Irina, Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella all together. But Prince Quintragitellingham is not walking towards any of them. He's walking towards 35-year-old. He then says, "May I have this dance?" In which 35-year-old says, "I would be delighted." And so, 35-year-old and Prince Quintragitellingham dance happily together. But later, 34-year-old checks her clock, and it's almost midnight. So she scurried out of the ball, and she was running so fast that she lost one of her glass slippers. Prince Quintragitellingham was so really worried that he might never see 35-year-old again. The king quintupling ham comforts him by saying, There, now, son. I think we'll be able to find my dear daughter-in-law, 35-year-old. And so, the king quintupling ham and Prince quintupling began their journey all around the neighborhood to find 34-year-old and brought the glass slipper she lost with them. By the time they arrived, Prince quintupling knocked on the door of the house where 35-year-old and her 10 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters live. But instead of 35-year-old, they find Tasha and Ella. Prince quintupling then said, Ladies, my father, the king of quintupling, and I have a favor to ask. Can any of you try on this glass slipper? Tasha is first, but her foot is too big. Hilda is next, but her foot is too small. Nonsense! It fits, she said. The rest did the same, but none of their feet are the right size. Suddenly, the king of quintupling and the prince quintupling noticed 35-year-old singing, Your Majesty and Prince quintupling, is that you guys? She yelled excitedly. The king of quintupling says, My dear daughter-in-law, we found you, and the glass slipper fits. And so, 35-year-old, the king of quintupling and Prince quintupling live happily ever after. The end. Andrew Stewart's, I hope you enjoyed this story. Andrew does everything. And I've been debating on making the sequels a bit of tradition. So, maybe someday 35-year-old 2. 35 wishes come true. Something like that. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrew Does Everything. Buy our merchandise at AndrewDoesEverything.com too. Take care. Bye. And now, Andrew Does Everything proudly presents 53-year-old. It is based on the story of Cinderella with a bit of a plot twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon a time, in a faraway land named quintupling, there was a young woman named 53-year-old. 53-year-old had 10 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters named Fatima, Ivana, Fernanda, Tasha, Irina, Tanya, Hannah, Rosie, Erna, and Emily. All 10 of them constantly made fun of 53-year-old and made her do all the chores. 53, wench! Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all! We don't have all day, said the stepsisters all together. One day, the king of quintupling messenger arrives and says, Hear ye, hear ye! The king of quintupling is kind, wise, caring, and everything. His Majesty is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son, Prince quintupling. But 53-year-old is not invited. Her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters. They are overjoyed and picked out dresses to wear to the ball. Prince quintupling is going to marry me, said Fatima, the oldest stepsister. No way, Fatima, wrong. He's going to marry me, said Ivana. Both of you are wrong. He's going to marry me. The rest say, all 3 of you are wrong. He's going to marry me. Later. 53-year-old is so sad about not going to the ball and marrying Prince quintupling. Whatever will I do? She whimpered. 53-year-old's fairy godmother arrives and comforts her. There now, 53-year-old. I can help with a bit of magic. Nobody will know it's you. And so she chants the magic words. Surprise, surprise among the shores. Magic wand, do all the chores. And waves her magic wand. And not a minute too soon. 53-year-old's chores are all done. But her fairy godmother says that she's not done yet. She says, 53-year-old, go fetch me a pumpkin and your teeny tiny little friends, the mice. Luckily, 53-year-old has 53 pumpkins and 160 mice. 53-year-old's fairy godmother waves her magic wand again to turn the 53 pumpkins into a handsome coach, the 106 mice into horses, and 53-year-old's rich clothes into a gown and crown. 53-year-old's fairy godmother says, I've never seen such a quadruple-tastic gown! And get a load of my glass slippers, fairy godmother. How can I ever thank you enough? And climbs into the coach. 53-year-old's fairy godmother says, well, 53-year-old, you can't, but have fun. And I would warn you, return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken and everything will turn back to normal. And so, 53-year-old accepted the warning. Meanwhile, at the ball, Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling was wondering who he should marry. Wondering who to marry, Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling, my son? Asked the king of Trey Quadrated Tumbling, to which Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling says, yes, father. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling, you're going to marry me, said Fatima, the oldest stepsister. No way, Fatima, wrong. He's going to marry me. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling, you're going to marry me, said Ivana. Both of you are wrong. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling, you're going to marry me, said Ferdinand. The rest say, all three of you are wrong. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling, you're going to marry me. But Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling angrily denies their request. 53-year-old arrives at the ball just in time. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling sees her, walks out to her and says, you must be 53-year-old. May I have please at this dance? 53-year-old responds, yes. 53-year-old and Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling dance happily together. But later, 53-year-old realizes it's almost midnight. So she scurried out of the ball, and she was running so fast that she lost one of her glass slippers. The next day, the king of Trey Quadrated Tumbling and Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling try to find 53-year-old who captured Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling's heart and brought the glass slipper she lost with them. By the time they arrive at her house, Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling knocks on the door at the house where 53-year-old and her 10 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters lived. But instead of 53-year-old, they find her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters, Fatima to Emily. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling then says, ladies, my father, the king, and I have a favor to ask. Can any of you try on this glass slipper? Fatima is first, but her foot is too big. Isabella is next, but her foot is too small. Nonsense! It fits, she said. The rest are the same, but none of their feet are the right size. Suddenly, the king of Trey Quadrated Tumbling and Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling noticed 53-year-old singing. Prince Trey Quadrated Tumbling, is that you? She hollered excitedly. He says, of course it's me, I love you, will you marry me? And the glass slipper fits! And so, Prince Trade Queen Quadrintubling and the King of the Trade Queen Quadrintublingham and 54 lived happily ever after. The end. I hope you enjoyed this story, Andrew Stewards. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Everything, and buy our merchandise at andrewdoeseverything.com. And take care. Bye. And now, Andrew Does Everything proudly presents 55-erella. It is based on the story of Cinderella, with a bit of a twist. Let's tell you the story, shall we? Once upon a time, there lived a young woman named 55-erella. 55-erella had 10 ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters named Fatina, Ivana, Fernanda, Tasha, Yadina, Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella. Fatima, Ivana, Fernanda, Tasha, Yadina, Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella. May 55-erella do all the chores. 55-er wench! Sweep the floors, wash the dishes, do it all! Said Fatima, Ivana, Fernanda, Tasha, Yvonne, Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella all together. One day, the king of 55-ham's messenger arrives and says, Hear ye, hear ye! The king of 55-ham is going to throw a ball, and whoever has the most beautiful gown and crown shall marry his son, Prince Quadrintubling. But 55-erella is not welcome. Her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters are. He's going to marry me, said Fatima, the oldest stepsister. Ivana said, No way, Fatima. He's going to marry me. The rest said, No, he's going to marry me. Later, 55-erella is so sad, distraught, and upset doing chores about not going to the ball, and marry Prince Quadrintubling. Suddenly, her fairy godmother arrives and comforts 55-erella by saying, There now, my dear sweet 55-erella. I can help with a bit of magic, and waves her magic wand. And because of that, 55-erella's chores are all done, but her fairy godmother is not done yet. She said, 55-erella, go fetch me a pumpkin and some mice. Luckily, 55-erella has 55 pumpkins and 110 mice. 55-erella's fairy godmother waves her magic wand again to turn the 55 pumpkins into a handsome coach, the 110 mice into horses, and 55-erella's fairy clothes into a gown and crown. 55-erella says, I've never seen such a quinquagintuple-tastic gown. Get a load of my glass slippers. Fairy godmother, how can I ever thank you enough? 55-erella's fairy godmother says, Well, you can't. But have fun, 55-erella. But I would warn you, return home before midnight, or the spell will be broken and everything will change back to the way it was before. Back to normal. And gives her a clock to tell her what time it is. 55-erella accepted the warning and climbed into the coach. Meanwhile, at the ball, the king of 55-ham says, Good evening, everyone. My son, Prince Quadrintubling, was wondering who he owed to marry. Isn't that right, son? In which Prince Quadrintubling responds, Yes, father. Suddenly, 55-erella arrives just in time for the ball. Fatima, Ivana, Fernanda, Tasha, Yadina, Fiona, Isabella, Verona, and Ella say, He's walking towards me! all together, but he's not walking towards any of them. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling is walking towards 55 Arella. May I have this dance? asks Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling, in which 55 Arella responds, I would be delighted. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling and 55 Arella dance happily together. But later, as 55 Arella checks her clock, it's almost midnight! And so she scurried out of the ball. And she was running so fast that she lost one of her glass slippers. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling is really sad and worried that he might never see 55 Arella again. The king of 55 Arella comforts him by saying, There now, son. I think we'll be able to find her. And so, the king of 55 Ingham and Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling began their journey all around 55 Ingham to find 55 Arella and brought the glass slipper with them. By the time they arrive, they knock. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling knocks on the door of the house where 55 Arella and her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters live. But instead of 55 Arella, they find her ugly, mean, wicked stepsisters. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling then says, Ladies, my father and I have a favor to ask. Can you try on this glass slipper? Fatima is first, but her foot is too big. Ivana is next, but her foot is too small. Nonsense! It fits, she said. The rest are the same, but none of their feet are the right size. Suddenly, Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling and the king of 55 Ingham noticed 55 Arella singing. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling, is that you? She hollered excitedly. Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling says, Of course it's me. My father and I found you. I love you. Will you marry me? And the glass slipper fits. And so, 55 Arella, the king of 55 Ingham, and Prince Queen Quadrilla Toppling lived happily ever after. The end. And I bet it was a fun story, right, Andrew Stewart? I've been debating on making some sequels. So, if you want to see maybe someday 55 Arella 2, 55 Wishes Come True, tell your friends about it, okay? And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share on Andrew Does Everything. And buy our merchandise at AndrewDoesEverything.com. And have you found your prince or princess? Just let me know, and maybe my Cinderella parodies will come true and become real. Take care, Andrew Stewart. Bye!